Oh, that's our cue to go,
Oh,
I believe.
oh, there we go.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. Welcome to this special edition of Retro Blissed. We are thrilled to join you with our stunning faces. Uh, that's that's Trevor just digging for gold over there. Let's hope he strikes some oil. The other end. That's the other end.
Oh,
High class show. High class show. Thank you for joining us, everybody, to the fives of people who will watch this. We very much appreciate it. It means a lot to us. Trevor, this is Retro Bliss going live with actual video for the first time ever.
this is so far above my ability and pay grade. I just want to say that.
Yeah, special shout out to our producer and buddy Chris for being you won't hear him. He's hidden himself. But he's the reason we're even able to do this. So thank you to Chris. And thank you to all the people listening. Trevor, what are we talking about today?
Well, we're going to cover our top 10 arcade games, which is a little surprising if you listen to the show, because what do I always say about arcade games?
That you never got to play any.
Yeah, I just didn't get to play a lot of arcade games, but it made for a fun list, and we'll get into some of the reasons why.
Yes.
But yeah, I have to say, arcade games for me, they're special because it is something I kind of missed out on, but I saw them, and then I saw them later. This sounds really pathetic, but later they would be turned into games, on my Super Nintendo or Genesis, and later the Saturn and Dreamcast. So seeing these games in the arcade and then seeing my home systems be able to play them later just made them extra special. But I didn't spend a lot of time actually playing these games. That's just the way my family was. We would save up and buy the home game. We wouldn't play them in the arcade. I kind of regret that now, but it made for an interesting list. I'll just go and say, Johnny, I was very honest with my list. I didn't just pick the ones that I thought, well, this is one of the greatest arcade games. I got to include it. I'm very honest. These are the ones that I would go play the most right now. That's really all I went on.
Yeah, this my parents loved me, so I got to actually play these games in the arcade.
You were beat much less frequently too.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah, much less frequently, though at times, wacka wacka. But I deserved it every time. But I'm with you. I'm with you on this, Trevor. This is my personal list. This is not a list of like if you go to some hoity-toity magazine.
Professional.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's a good word. Professional. These are not.
No.
Even though we are the definitive voices of all redneck retro gaming.
Yep.
This is our personal list. This is the ones that we love. And as we're going along, we would love for you all to like start naming some ones that maybe we don't mention, or ones that really stood out to you as you were growing up, or even now. But yeah, Trevor, a lot of these games they're on my list. I was very fortunate to get to play at one point or another in the arcade, and I've obviously went back and played them since too. So I'm very excited for this. It's time for some good old arcade action, Trevor.
Yeah, and Johnny, just so you know, if there's any comments you want me to know about, you'll have to let me know because I'm recording on my phone, so I can't say anything besides your face.
Well, that's where we would probably need our producer to tell us, because I'm not looking at that either. I got my list up, which is on my phone. So
nice.
So Chris, if you see any comments you feel we need to know, please chip in at some point. All right, there you go. There's just beautiful tones there. Okay, let's get into our honorable mentions. What do you think, Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, I just have one. Do you have one?
I have one. I have one honorable mention. I'm going to go with Goals and Ghosts. I obviously pretty freaking hard game. Even when it went to home consoles, I don't think they made it any easier. I played it way more on a home console, but I did experience it a couple times in the arcade. And this game, I don't know why, because I usually detest a game that's so hard it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But for whatever reason, even though I never even got past the first level in the arcade when I was a kid, I loved just the way this game looked, even the music, just everything about it just really appealed to me. And to this day, I could go back and play some Ghouls and Ghosts, even though I won't get very far.
I never even honestly saw Ghouls and Ghosts in the arcade until a few years ago at the beach. they had the machine there. And from what I remember, it's very similar to the NES port. From what I remember, but yeah, I couldn't include it because I really only played it on the NES. So yeah, my honorable mention is a shame. That's an honorable mention because this is probably like top 3 material. But I just have to be honest, this game, to my knowledge, never got a home port, and so I barely played it. It was amazing the twice I got to play it, but that's The Simpsons by Konami. Yeah, it's just an awesome multiplayer game, 4-player at least, I think. But
it is.
Yeah, I mean, I barely played it, so it has to be an honorable mention.
Yeah, I understand that completely. I am also going to say that this is purely because I only got to experience it later, and it wasn't in the arcade. That's the only reason it's not on my list, because it's a very fun game. It's got a great. I mean, it really captures the show very well, sense of humor wise, and it's a beat 'em up at the same time from Konami. So you're not going to go wrong there. But that's why it's not on my list. I didn't get to experience it in the arcade. I only actually even saw the machine a couple times. It was like a rare thing down here in North Carolina for some reason.
Yeah, it's not like we had a massive arcade around here. There were machines here and there is what we basically got.
Yeah, we were littered with small arcades.
Yeah.
Pretty much is where it goes. Are we ready for our top 10, Trevor?
Let's do it. Yeah.
I think I'm going first. I think it's what we decided before this.
I can't see anything besides your face, so I'm just going to assume whatever's on the screen is what is on the screen.
Yeah. We're flying by the seat of our pants. Wouldn't have it any other way. Here we go. My number 10 game on my favorite arcade games ever is Rampage. I love Rampage. I even love it. Probably my fondest memory is playing it with you and Derek when you got it for your birthday, which is not arcade, but I did play in the arcade anytime I saw it. Just love, you get to be a monster, tearing down buildings. How's that not fun? You know, I grew up loving Godzilla movies, and this is a video game was kind of the equivalent of being Godzilla in a way.
Yeah.
I love this game. It's so much fun. I mean, you get to destroy things and eat people out of buildings. I mean, that's every Johnny's dream.
Yeah, this game honestly is probably a lot better than the arcade. It's made for the arcade. The Sega Saturn version I had, we loved, but it's not really the kind of game we want to play for 2 hours straight.
Right.
So it kind of makes sense in the arcade. I think that's a good choice. My number 10 is going to start a trend that a lot of my games share, and that I played it at least once in the arcade to qualify for my list, but I played it a lot more at home. My number 10, Johnny will not agree with, is Virtua Cop 2. Virtua Cop, of course, a light gun shooter from Sega. The sequel came out in 1995 in the arcade. And it's one of those games that just is visceral fun. I remember just shooting out cars and shooting out the windows, and you can shoot like a motorcycle 30 times before it explodes and its wheels start flying off. At the time, it felt like you were really doing it. You didn't realize it was just pre-canned animation. But me and my brother just played the far out of the Sega Saturn version, which was pretty faithful. So that's my number 10. And Johnny, you love light gun games. What do you think?
Honestly, I don't hate that one. I'm not a giant fan of gun games. I don't know why. It's not like I have anything against them or anything. I just, probably because I was never good at them. And if I'm not good at something, I have a hard time getting into it. That's just me, which is why I'm not into very many things.
That's why I don't play basketball anymore.
Yeah, I don't play basketball anymore either because I got bad at it when I used to be good at it. So I quit. That's what I do. I'm a quitter. That's who I am. And, and I'm going to be true to myself, a quitter. All right, number 9 for me. My number 9, Trevor, I think you will appreciate this one because we're going to hit the streets and we're going to go cruising USA. Trevor.
Oh, man.
My favorite memory of this game is that we have, I don't even know if we still have it. I mean, I know it's been forever since I've been there, but we had a CC's Pizza in near us that had a really small, I mean, it was really small arcade in the like a back room or something.
Yeah.
Which had what, maybe 5 games in it?
Maybe.
One of those was Cruising USA at one point for whatever reason. And I loved it. I played it all the time. I don't even think I was that good at it, which is really strange because when I got older and we played it for the show, I think we covered this on the show, didn't we? I know we meant to if we didn't. But but I played it recently for whatever reason, and it was nowhere near as hard as I remember. But it's a fun game, just really arcadey action, and it was just fun getting to choose different cars and stuff. And I was always excited when somebody had like the new cars unlocked, and you could just pick one of them. So that was always fun for me. But so Cruzan USA is my number 9.
That's a good pick, and you just made me think of a game I probably would have put on my list, but because these are preloaded on our list now, I'm not going to change it.
What's the game, just out of curiosity?
Well, when you said cruising, I thought San Francisco Rush.
Yeah. See, I wouldn't have included that.
Rush 2049 in particular.
Yeah. See, but I only remember that playing it on your Dreamcast.
That's true. I don't actually remember playing in the arcade, so we're good.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Fantastic game though.
So my number 9, surprise, surprise, has home ports. And that is Outrun. Outrun is just it's Sega at their most 80s in a good way. See, it was 1986. I read that this was the first sit-down arcade cabinet, or at least the first one that was like kind of deluxe, like you're sitting down in a seat, like a car seat. It was the first game of that type, and it's just colorful. The music is wonderful. It runs so smooth. I played a lot of Rad Racer on the NES, and I think it owes everything to Outrun. I played it on the Master System, the Sega Genesis, and then I played the pro tip for listeners. The Sega Ages games is Sega's branding for like remastering these old games. On the Switch, and I assume the other consoles as well, you can download Outrun, the Sega Ages version, and it's a arcade perfect port, and it's a great game. It still holds up. So it's like $5 to download. I recommend it. That's Outrun.
Yeah, Outrun's a great game. I definitely got to play it a few times. I really like it. I was trying to decide, honestly, between it and Cruisin', and I just had more experience with Cruisin'. That's why I went with it.
Yeah.
So my number 8, Trevor. This game not only saved Nintendo, but it also jump-started later on in the 90s a franchise that you adore. I'm going to go with Donkey Kong.
Oh.
The original Donkey Kong, where poor Mr. Jumpman Mario himself is trying to save the princess as this angry giant ape is just hurling. He's hurling out of his mouth barrels. He's vomiting barrels towards poor Mario, and Mario's got to jump these barrels to get to the princess. For whatever reason, I love this game from the first time I saw it, and I was like, I have to play this. And I still remember when I was in the arcade and I actually finally beat the first level, and then I got to get to the second level, which I didn't beat. But I remember that, just the joy that I had, because this game in the arcade, for whatever reason, I just couldn't get it's literally so easy now. I mean, I can play it and go through it, 100 times. But, when I was a kid and I was first playing this game was tough. And I always try to get that hammer to try to save myself.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that Donkey Kong. And I even like Donkey Kong Jr., but I never got to play it in the arcade. That was on my NES. But yeah, Donkey Kong, my number 8.
So here's where I just go ahead and say flat out, I had to make a decision, like I mentioned before. Am I going to go with the games that I know are probably the greatest and most influential, or the ones that I've actually spent a lot of time with? And Donkey Kong is a great game, but I've only played it spots here and there, the NES version. So I just didn't feel like I could include it. Instead, my number 8 is probably not quite the same level of classic status, and it's Neo Turf Masters. This is an amazingly fun golf game by NASCA and SNK. And I don't have a physical version to show you, but I do have my Neo Geo little arcade here. And this has Neo Turf Masters on it. And this is just like the perfect arcade golf game because it is so easy to play, but it's got enough depth that the harder holes are frustratingly hard because it eats your quarters. It has to eat your quarters. And this is a game that has an arcade perfect port or close to it on the Switch. And that's where I played it 90% of the time. I feel like it also goes by another name, and now I can't remember what it is. Neo Turf Masters. Well, it doesn't matter. I don't remember what the other name it goes by is. Open Tournament Golf, maybe? I can't remember. 1996, one of the first of 2 arcade games by NASCA, who was later bought by SNK, and the other game's also on my list, so we'll get to that later.
Turf Masters sounds like what you go to college to get your degree in to learn about
Yeah,
the ground.
that's why I plant really nice grass. I mean,
Yeah, I got my master's in turf. I'm going to go with my number 7, Trevor. I don't know if this is going to surprise you or not. So I hope you're sitting down, which you are, because I can see the chair. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. My number 7 is another classic, and that's Galaxian.
Oh,
I went with this game because I was trying to decide between this and Space Invaders.
let's be honest. There's no Neo Turf Masters, but go ahead.
No, it's none of that. I mean, it's not even close. It can't even compete with that. But there was this little cafe restaurant that wasn't too far from where I grew up, and during the summer when I was helping my dad do like odd jobs and stuff, we would always stop there for breakfast, and they had this machine in there, and I'd get to play it every once in a while. And I love this game. It's so fun. This is a recurring theme. I was never good at it. I got to where I could get decently far, but I did like this game a lot. So Galaxian, to me, was the better version of Space Invaders. For me personally, Space Invaders is a fun game too, but I just thought Galaxian just played better personally, and I just enjoy it more. And it just brings back a lot of fond memories of that diner for some reason.
And here's another game that I played on compilations and collections. And I remember when we went to get pizza and different things, it was always there and looked like fun. But again, being honest to myself, so my number 7 is probably a bigger classic. Like if you just go with, true classic status, bigger than Space Invaders or Galaxian. And that's Daytona, USA. The Sega Saturn version was not an arcade perfect port, and I have played it in the arcade, and it's a great game in the arcade. Of course, the Sega Saturn version is one I played the most, but it's just a huge cabinet and just surround sound, if I remember correctly. And at the time, beautiful graphics. And what was it? 40 cars could be on that circle track, and the Rex. It was one of the big deluxe arcade machines. And so getting to play it, I mean, it probably cost 75 cents or $1. Getting to play it was a treat. And yeah, that is all I have to say about that. Daytona, USA. That's all I got to say about that.
That's all I got to say about that. I'm going to shock you. My number 6 is also Daytona, USA. Daytona. I also love this game. It's very fun. And you mentioned something very important. The fact that you could have a lot of other cars on the track was a big deal for us growing up. For all three of us. I'm going to throw your brother into this too. I remember being blown away when the NASCAR games would finally have, close to 30 to 40 cars on the track at once. That was a big deal for us. It's a lot more fun racing against 40 than it is racing against 5 or 6. It just is.
Oh, yeah.
And Daytona USA did a great job of that, just being very arcadey, stock car racing fun. And man, what a fun game. And this was literally this game got really popular. I do remember seeing it in quite a few different arcades even down here, which is how I got to play it a couple times.
Yeah.
But it was one of the more expensive arcade games. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah, it was a big deal at the time. And it was still at that time when Sega could put out an arcade game that blew away anything you could see on the home console, which was awesome.
That's probably during the last era where they could kind of do that, where the arcades were better graphically than what you could get at home, and then right after this, that kind of changed.
Right. Yeah. So that was your number 6, and my number 7. Awesome. My number 6 is not a game that I can show you a physical copy of because I've only played it in the arcade. I don't understand why this never came to a home console, and that's X-Men.
Ooh.
Not Uncanny X-Men.
Da-da-da-da-da.
But the 4-player, I think it was 4-player, right?
It was. Yeah, the giant cabinet. It was a giant cabinet. If it's the same one I'm thinking of.
Yes, it's the one where you're all there together, the giant cabinet spread out.
I think it might be 6-player, right? Is it 6-player?
It might be, because there was something special about it. It was a huge cabinet.
It
had 3 screens, right? Am I imagining that?
No, I think you're right. Yeah. It's a giant cabinet.
Yes. And
we're trying to say the cabinet's huge. I don't know if you guys are getting this.
The cabinet was bigger than a small cabinet.
Yeah.
It was also bigger than a medium size.
If you see a medium cabinet, think bigger.
Yes. It was smaller than an extra large cabinet.
Yes.
Konami. I mean, this may or may not be the first time or the last time they're going to show up on my list. Konami knew what it was doing in the 90s with arcade games. And this just one I don't have a ton of experience with, but it was a joy every time I played it. So that's my number 6, X-Men.
I'm going to say that Konami at one point was one of my all-time favorite game publishers because they made some great games with some great franchises. And it makes me really sad what they're doing now. That's just me personally. Not throwing shade. Well, I guess I am. Take that, Konami.
I'll throw some shade. It's real sad. It really is.
Yeah. My number 5, Trevor. Number 5 for me is, that's where we're at, right? I'm doing these numbers right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Good. On top of it. Number 5, I'm going with Street Fighter 2. Yeah, I played this a lot in the arcades. I was even one of those kids who would get in like a few times. This didn't happen a lot because most of the time, if a game had people at it, I would just go play a different game. But this is one of those few games where every once in a while I was like, you know what? I got next. Like one of those types of games. See if I can beat somebody. And I rarely ever did win, but I do remember the few times that I would pull out the victory somehow. And it was big moments for me where I beat another person at something.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you guys can tell by looking at me, winner is not how I would describe this. But but Street Fighter 2, man, what a great game. That was probably one of the first fighting games that was set up the way that one was set up, where it was 1v1 type of deal. And it really stuck to me to the point where I remember when Mortal Kombat came out, and I've since obviously played Mortal Kombat, but I was a Street Fighter 2 guy, and that was who I sided with. Like, I would argue against the Mortal Kombat guys because I was a Street Fighter 2 guy. That's just how I was. So Street Fighter 2, my number 5.
So Street Fighter 2, probably of every game not on my list, is the game that I know would and should be there. But I'm not a big fighting game fan, and my memory of Street Fighter 2 is going to the substation shop and it playing in the background. And then
that wasn't us.
That's the ghost we keep in the room. That music playing and hearing Hadouken, Hadouken.
Yeah.
While I'm eating my sandwich with my mom and grandma and my brother. But guess what? We never actually put the quarter in and played it because stupidity. I don't know why.
You know what's weird to me? This is a true story, and I hope he doesn't mind me saying this. But you nor your brother, from what I remember, you or your brother, from what I remember, because I definitely never played Street Fighter games with either of you. We're not giant Street Fighter fans or fighting game fans. We played Mortal Kombat like a couple times. But that was just us trying to just literally use that little cheap tripping thing.
The only fighting game I put a lot of time into was Marvel versus Capcom 2.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yes.
For the Dreamcast, which was amazing. And then Power Stone and Soul Calibur.
Yes.
You know.
But back to the Street Fighter 2 thing, what blows me away is I don't remember either of you playing that one very much, even at all. If you did, it wasn't with me. And yet that's been Derek, part of Derek's Xbox screen name forever. So the Hadouken. So I don't
know how you come up with it.
Honestly,
I know it's from that sub shop. I mean, I'm telling you, it's a strong memory. This was our favorite restaurant in the world, and we went there.
Did we close
on
it
a regular
down?
basis, and that was always playing in the background, but we never really played it.
Did we close it down like we did other restaurants?
No, it's still open, but they took out the machine.
Oh, yeah. We closed the machine down. True story. I don't know if we said this on the show, but Trevor and I, there literally had a streak of where we'd go to a restaurant and eat it, and then literally within weeks it closed down.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. Some places I really liked.
Yeah, there's some great ones. All right.
So that was your number 5?
Yes, it was.
So my number 5 is a game that I can confidently put on my list, but it's only because I know the home port is similar to the arcade game, because I don't really remember playing it much in the arcade or even seeing it much, but this game's so much fun. Sunset Riders. The arcade version was 4-player. The Super Nintendo one, which I mostly played, is 2-player. It also had a Genesis version, which was a little different. 1991 Konami, so Konami's back at it again. Oh man, this game to me is like if you took the Ninja Turtles but mixed it with Contra. That's basically what this feels like, because it feels like the Konami Turtles games, but it's a shooter. It's just so much fun. The Wild West setting is so much fun. I think it's just one of the best run and gun type games. And I don't hear as much about it as like Contra. I mean, it's nowhere near as popular, but I think it's just fantastic. So
I think it's still considered a classic. I definitely remember playing this
yeah,
over at your house. It's definitely a fun game for sure. I mean, this is to me, this is Konami showing that it knows what it's doing, because this wasn't really, per my knowledge, based on anything. Like it
I don't
wasn't
think so.
based on any franchise or anything. So they just knew what they were doing.
Oh yeah,
All right, my number 4. I'm going back to a classic, Trevor, and this one is purely for the memories. Uh, Miss Pac-Man is my number
yeah.
4. This is a game that Dad would actually play with me when we go to an arcade, and I think it's why I have such a fond memory of it. We've mentioned this before on our podcast, that when our parents would play games with us, it really kind of stays in your memory. It burns there
Yeah.
for all the right reasons. And I just remember watching Dad go, because he had to take turns, obviously, and Dad
Yeah.
would usually go first, and he was so good at it. And I would always want to at least try to get near where he got to. And I don't think I ever beat him in Pac-Man. I probably
Yeah.
could now, or at Miss Pac-Man. And it was always Miss Pac-Man. We rarely in our area had regular Pac-Man machines. It was almost
Yeah.
always Miss Pac-Man. And so it has a special place in my soul. So Miss Pac-Man, my number 4.
So I have a confession to make, and I've never admitted this to anybody. I've tried to play Pac-Man and Miss Pac-Man on multiple occasions, and I enjoy it for a few minutes, but I've never really been able to get into it. It kind of, I don't want to say it stresses me out, but I've never actually been able to really commit to Pac-Man. Like, I don't know if it's a deficiency in me or if it's just a deficiency in me. So I'm not sure which of this.
It's going to be one or the other.
Yeah, one or the other. So your number 4 was Miss Pac-Man, which makes a lot of sense. My number 3, I know you don't care for this game.
You mean your number 4?
Oh, number 4. Sorry. Yeah. Oh, never mind. Forget what I just said. My number 4, this game, 1994 Sega, was one of those games that when you saw it in the arcade, you thought, I hope one day we can play a game this good at home. Because it was so gorgeous. And that is Sega Rally Championship. Now, this game, it's probably a perfect arcade game, because even on the Saturn port, there's like 3 I think there's 3 tracks. I think the arcade only had 2, if I remember right. But even with just 3 tracks on the home port, it's just infinitely replayable. Replayable. It's just, it was a beautiful game in the arcade. The controls, in my opinion, for an arcade style racing game, I don't even know how to put it, the finesse, the elegance of the controls in Sega Rally Championship have never been bettered, really, for what it is. It's arcadey, but it's not just like complete over-the-top arcadey like San Francisco Rush or Cruising.
I hope my future wife describes me the way you just described this game.
Yeah, I hope so too, Johnny. My wife did describe me this way until I started doing stuff like this on Facebook Live. But
but I do have a memory of this game too. I never actually got to play it, which is why it's not on my list. But I would literally watch it on a loop anytime my parents took me to Kmart. There was a Kmart near here that had this game up towards the registers. And so I would literally just watch it go. I was like, man, I wish I was playing this. But my parents were always in a hurry to get out of there, so I never played it.
I will say I'm starting to feel a little bit guilty right now that my arcade list is starting to seem a little bit like a Sega Saturn love fest. Look at this, though. Hills Department Store. This game is $57.97. I don't even know what Hills Department Store is.
I don't even remember a Hills Department Store.
I know I didn't pay that for it because I didn't buy it new, but
yeah.
Anyway,
back in the day, if Trevor ever paid full price for a game, I would think he wasn't feeling well.
Yeah, I just did.
My number 3. We're getting to our top 3, Trevor. This is exciting. This is exciting. I bet you're shocked that I haven't mentioned this game yet, because you've mentioned it, and that's X-Men. Of course, I had to have X-Men in my top 3. Not only is it based on a franchise that I love in the first place, and I got to play a Cyclops. That's a double bonus for me in this game. But man, what a fun beat 'em up, right? How fun is this? And you can play with like up to 5 more of your friends, I believe. So X-Men, what a game! What a game!
Yeah, totally agree. So my number 3 is the one I was saying that I know you're not going to agree, mostly because you just really don't like the subject matter this is based on. My number 3 is NBA Jam.
Oh, can't stand it.
Yeah. So NBA Jam, I do remember playing in the arcade at the skate rink with my homeschool group for our Valentine's Day skate-a-thon. I remember playing this game.
This is the saddest sentence I've ever heard.
And let me complete the picture a little better. So the Valentine's Day homeschool skate-a-thon, which by the way, these are like roller skates, not roller blades. Or at least that's what I use. We would make.
Is there a difference between roller skates and rollerblades? I genuinely don't know.
Skates have 4 wheels. They're like old-fashioned.
Okay.
Like a shoe with 4 wheels. And rollerblades are like just a line.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I can't believe I had to explain that, but nobody really talks about skates or blades anymore. But during these homeschool, I don't remember if I talked about this on the actual podcast or not, but all the homeschoolers would make their own Valentine's Day boxes. Like I remember mine was a log cabin with little cotton balls on the roof to look like snow. And all the other homeschoolers, girl or boy, would go around and drop little Valentines in the boxes.
This is just the saddest picture that's ever been painted in the history of sad pictures.
While out of date contemporary Christian music was played over the loudspeakers, which I never liked, even when even then, it just wasn't my kind of music. But this may surprise you. Me and my brother felt a little bit too cool for it, just a little bit at a certain point. And so we would basically go and hang out and play NBA Jam.
I have to ask this
one. I remember we actually got the quarters and we actually got to play it. And it's just
I have to ask Trevor, at this Valentine's Day homeschool skate-a-thon.
Yes.
Where you had to make your own box for people to put Valentines in.
Yes.
Did you actually get Valentines?
I did, but it was not really special because you were supposed to put one in everybody's box. Boy, girl, doesn't matter. So like it was never special. Like oh, this person really likes me, but it might be Billy Bob.
So it's like so I'm thinking that's for like if you went to a public school like me and you got your yearbook, that's when the people who would sign, "Hey, have a great summer." That's all they would sign. It's kind
right. So let me put it this way: I never got a very personal message in mind.
Yeah.
But I was an overweight kid wearing roller skates, playing NBA Jam. So
yeah, you've changed so much since then.
I've really changed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't wear roller skates now. So
yeah, you probably grew out of those.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So NBA Jam was your number 3.
Yeah.
Your number 4, right? No, that was your number 3. Number 3.
Yeah. Top 3. Yeah.
All right. My number 2. This may shock you because I have 2 games that I love. They're probably my top 10 of regular games. So this was tough. I went back and forth. There was a war inside of me over which one would go number 1 and number 2. But I had to do this. Number 2 for me is the Ninja Turtles arcade game.
Wow.
I remember playing it when I went on a school trip in 7th grade at a public school where we weren't forced to put where we were not forced to go skating and put Valentine's and other kids' boxes that they made. And we got to go to a Chuck E. Cheese. It was the first time I got to go to a Chuck E. Cheese.
Loser.
It was when I was in middle school. And I was very excited about this. And then I was even more excited when they had this game in that Chuck E. Cheese. And that's where I literally spent all the extra money I had was on this Turtles game. And I played it with a couple of my buddies. It's such a great memory. And then, of course, I've got to play it a bunch of times since then. So the Ninja Turtles arcade game is my number 2.
That surprises me a little bit. My number 2, where is it? Oh, my number 2, I feel a little guilty over because it's not. I guarantee you don't expect it, but I just had to think again. What just excites me right now? The thought of going in to my favorite pizza restaurant and that arcade is there, and I'm just going to play it. And this is
Samurai Showdown.
No, I think it's the same company though. This is the other game by NASCA/SNK, and that's Metal Slug.
Yeah,
and it could really be any of them. I don't even remember how many there were in the arcade. Probably 6 or 7, but it is on my little arcade machine here. It's been on a lot of different consoles, but Metal Slug is just, to me, when I first saw this game, is at a laundromat. There was a time when we went to laundromat often, and it is one we got to play a little bit, played it more once it came to the PlayStation. But
And that just so people know, because I don't know if people are aware now, a laundromat is where you would take all your clothes to a guy named Matt and he'd wash them for you.
exactly, yes.
Yeah.
It's also where you got your money printed. But just I remember seeing this game being played and thinking Contra is awesome, but holy cow, this is better than Contra. I actually remember thinking that because it is ridiculously detailed. You're shooting. I mean, it's a run and gun shooter. It's very much a Contra knockoff. I mean, I'll say it, but it's a 2-player run and gun where you're hopping in tanks, you're hopping in submarines, you're throwing grenades through the air as fast as you can chuck them. You got enemies hovering from the air. You've got digging out of the ground, and you're shooting. It looks like the most detailed, I don't know, like Mad Magazine comic you can imagine. But I just remember thinking this game is so far above any other 2D run and gun style game that I just couldn't believe I hadn't heard about it before. And it's just still a blast today. So it's not a traditional choice for number 2, but I feel pretty good about it for pure fun factor.
Yeah, you mentioned something too that really made me think. In our area here, for whatever reason, if there was a pizza place, and this is Pizza Hut or like even like your local pizzeria type place, and they had an arcade game, it was almost always Metal Slug or Samurai Showdown for whatever reason.
Yeah, they SNK, I guess, did a good job getting these out there because I don't feel like they're talked about as much now, but they were really popular for a while.
Yeah, so for whatever reason, I always wanted to play Samurai Showdowns because I literally saw it every time I went to a Pizza Hut around here.
Yeah.
For the longest time. All right, number 1, Trevor. We're going into our number 1s.
No.
This game came out at a perfect time for me. This is when I discovered that I loved basketball when I was a young lad, and this is when I became a giant NBA fan. So NBA Jam comes out. And it's this arcade game where you could dunk from the free throw line, doing ridiculous dunks.
Yeah.
And you could catch on fire. And I could play as actual basketball players that I knew because I was one of the, I consider myself a very knowledgeable NBA fan even back then. So I could play as the Charlotte Hornets, which has always been my team, even when we weren't good, which is almost always. And I love NBA Jam. It's a part of me. Mm-hmm. Every time it gets re-released, I will buy it.
Yeah.
I just can't help it. I hope they do a redo of it with current rosters even. So bring it back. I need some NBA Jam in my life. There was rumors going around that they were going to bring it back, and then of course it hasn't happened. So I miss it. I love NBA Jam, and then Tournament Edition as well, of course. But NBA Jam, my number 1 arcade game, Trevor.
NBA Jam was the last time that I remember caring about what team I picked in a basketball game.
Yeah.
Like actually, I looked at the stats and I actually cared. Like I liked the Bulls at the time, and even though I don't think Jordan was in it because he had his own license, right? I loved to be the Bulls. I remember the Hornets. Yeah. Anyways, it was awesome. My number 1, I can't find. There it is. I cheated a little bit, and that is 1989. Of course, Turtles the arcade game, and then also Turtles in Time, which I've not played much in the arcade, but I think it was really similar to the Super Nintendo version, which is amazing. So I don't know if I can pick one, but if that's cheating, then I guess it's the arcade game.
I'm going to tell you, usually I don't allow cheating. I'm a stickler for everything, but in this case, since it's Ninja Turtles, I'm going to allow it.
Yeah, I mean, I just had to be honest. I mean, I didn't have Pac-Man on my list or Space Invaders or Donkey Kong, but Ninja Turtles is an easy number 1. I mean,
yeah.
I definitely played them way more at home than in the arcade, but they wouldn't exist without the arcade version. And these are some of my most fun times, best memories with you and my brother. And they definitely still hold up because that same awesome arcade beach is called Warp Zone in the North Myrtle Beach Mall. Please check them out if you get a chance. Everything's $0.25. They've got awesome machines. They have the Manhattan Project machine. They got the Turtles arcade game. Did I say Manhattan Project? I meant Turtles in Time. But they also have a Manhattan Project machine, which I didn't even know existed.
I that's what's blowing me away. I didn't know that was a thing.
Yeah, but they had them all there, $0.25. And yeah, just an awesome place. But Turtles in Time, my favorite arcade game of all time.
Sweet. So there you have it. There's our top 10 favorite arcade games. Comment down below if you see one. Oh, you see one. If you heard one that you liked also, or if we didn't mention one that you love, please feel free to put that in the comment below. We'll definitely read them, or at least Trevor will. I'm very full of myself and only do things when I need to. But we very much appreciate all you for stopping by. I'm sure at least one or two of you check this out. We very much appreciate it. Shout out to producer Chris for helping us out here. We definitely appreciate him. We would not have been able to do this without Chris, for sure.
I'm recording on a phone on top of my board game boxes. I can't do this alone.
Yeah,
I just can't.
We can't do a lot of things alone. We still have to hold each other's hands going to the bathroom, just in case.
Yes.
So thank you, everybody. Trevor, you got anything else we want to leave the people with?
No, except that another full episode's coming as soon as we can get it done. As soon as we can stop playing Animal Crossing and play some other dadgum game.
Yeah.
Like Link to the Past, which is our next episode.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes, it'll be here, and hopefully, I will say this: I hope that A Link to the Past is our last isolation episode. I hope after that we feel comfortable just recording together.
Yeah, same here. And this will be either a horrible thing to hear or the greatest announcement we've ever made, depending on where you stand on this. Until we're in the room together again, there will be no more cold opens. There'll be no more dumb skits. So you're either going to be shouting hallelujah, or you're going to be crying into your, as you're taking a shower, like I always do. I can't take a shower without a good cry. But Trevor, I think we've had a great show here. I'm very proud of it.
Great's a strong word, but yeah.
I had to start somewhere.
Yeah. This episode brought to you by Chapstick.
That's right. Brought to you by Chapstick.
Chapstick you melt in the pocket. That's just gross. It's oozing out.
That is, man, what a way to end
That's
it.
what I wanted to leave people with. That's my choice.
I've never felt more lucky to be your friend than in this moment right now. So thank you, everybody. We appreciate all of you. We'll holler at you later. Stay tuned for more Retro Blissed.